Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for taking the time to join us for this virtual session today, our first ever virtual session. As we get started, we'd love to see what organizations you represent. So if you would find and use the chat box function and type the name of your organization or company in there, that would be a great way to see who's on this call and for us to celebrate our partnership together in serving our community. If you'd like, you could also enable your video if you're comfortable to do so. As you know, we at the Nonprofit Leadership Center are lifelong learners, and we're here and committed to respond with you and alongside you in these really challenging times. We're committed to continue to develop and connect nonprofit leaders. We're committed to lead by our own example along with you and focusing on our collective efforts. And we realize now more than ever that it's really important that we are together and that we are better together. This first session today is a new way of delivery for us. It's a way in which we can gather to lean into our own courage. If Brene Brown were on this call, and there are 100 people on this call right now, and Brene can raise her hand if she's one of them, she'd remind us that vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation and creativity and change. You can put a thumbs up in the chat box if you agree with that. And I think we could agree that we're all sufficiently vulnerable and leaning into innovation at this point and committed to continue to change, to grow, to be better for ourselves, for our families, and for our community. We're delighted today to be on this journey with Ellen Nastir, who's going to facilitate this call. So many of you know Ellen. She's an unbelievably experienced NLC trainer and a personal coach, and she works tirelessly in our community to bring people together, to bring them to greater awareness of themselves, to encourage all of us to lean into our strengths and to unleash our individual and collective power for good. So at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce my teammate and colleague, Karina Kletter, who's going to moderate this call. And Karina's skills and strengths and focus have been instrumental in our ability to do this today. So I'd like to thank you all once again and turn the reins over to Karina.
Hello, everyone, and thank you again for joining us today. So just a few rules of the road. To minimize background noise and distractions, we're going to keep all lines muted for the duration of the webinar. You're more than welcome to turn on your videos if you would like to. You don't have to. This session is being recorded and will be available on our website for future viewing. So, for you to view again, and if any of your colleagues were trying to get in and couldn't make it into the call, it will be available. We will warmly welcome your questions on anything Ellen is presenting here today. Please use the chat function to ask your questions throughout the presentation. I will collect those questions and share them with Ellen during the Q&A session at the end. If you have more specific questions about your organization's particular situation or needs, please reach out to Ellen directly following the webinar, and the link to her website can be found at the top of the chat box, and we'll add it again at the end of the session. And we're looking forward to a productive, engaging session, and thank you so much for your participation. Take it away, Ellen.
I am actually jumping in head first into the cold water of a deep end of the pool. This is my largest webinar I've ever done, so bear with me as we go through it. I have a lot of information. I've been working on this, just pulling a lot of different ideas together, and I love that we're a like-minded group of people wanting to really figure our way through this different and, somewhat trying time. What I want to be able to do is just take 2 minutes right now. It's the middle of the day. You've all had different things coming at you, and I just want to do a really short guided visualization if you'll do that with me. So if you'll just find wherever you're sitting, wherever you are, if you don't have to try and get anything out of this, it's just time for you just to breathe, be by yourself, and get really centered for the call. So just gently close your eyes. Just take some relaxing breaths in any way that feels comfortable to you. And just breathe. You don't have to get results. There's nothing to do. Just enjoy a moment just on your own. Feel your body in the chair. Feel your feet on the floor. As you breathe, imagine that you're just inhabiting yourself. Imagine each breath is just filling you and allowing you to relax, forgetting about anything else. Just breathe. While you're breathing, imagine some place where you feel comforted. It might be a place outside under a big tree that you enjoy, maybe lying on the ground in a beautiful meadow. Could be on a bench in your favorite garden or park. You might imagine lying somewhere, not at the beach right now, but somewhere along the line with the warm sun on your body. But just relax into this place. Follow your breath and let your breath take you there. And as you rest in this place, just ponder the question, what do I need? Ask yourself, what do you need? What would make you feel more comfortable? You might just feel a deepening sense of peace. You may see an image or hear a word, but just sit with the question, what do I need? Simply notice anything that comes to mind and enjoy this quiet time for just a moment. Keep breathing. And know that there's a very wise and loving part of you that resides within you, and it's always there for you. You can always turn there for anything. It's the first place to come to. When you're ready, thank that wise part of you for being there, for allowing you these few moments of peace and connection. Gently come back into the room. Feel your body in the chair. Return to the present moment. Open your eyes gently. And when you're ready, just take a deep breath out, a big exhale, and we'll all be together. So I hope that kind of just relaxed you a little bit, just from being able to just be in this moment. And there's a lot of information that I'm going to share, and they're all in sound bites. I think we're all on content overload. At least I know I am. Different, articles I've been reading, the TV. So what I wanted to be able to do on this call is share with you just a lot of different ideas that I know I've used with a lot of my executive clients, just clients in general, that all of it is really coming into how we can make ourselves more resilient, more with the ability to do our best in really trying times. So if you can imagine an orchestra, and when the orchestra, if you can, imagine the orchestra is all playing, and even though they're all playing the same song, the same ode, each one in the orchestra is bringing its own voice to it within their own instrument. And altogether, the performance is an expression of that whole orchestra. But you need all the individual instruments to make that orchestra be its best. And each of the orchestras have conductors, which are different team leaders, executives, are the people who are helping us through this in your work environment, and as well as you being the leader within your own life, in those you're surrounded with within your family, your friends, all those different systems that we all have. And you're that orchestra leader. You're the conductor. And how it all comes back to, how do we first conduct ourselves before we start moving in and bringing all the pieces together? So what I'm going to talk to you about today is, yes, it's about working remotely at home. It's going to be about connecting with yourself, with others, with your teams, with your children, because that's a big priority for, I know, a lot of people, or grandchildren, others. And it is in somewhat of a format, I'm being honest with you, but so many of these will cross over that it really is an important part to know, oh, well, that's an idea I can use over here. And there may be an idea for a team. Oh, that'd be really cool. I want to talk to my spouse about this. I want to talk to my significant other. So whatever that part is, those of you who know me well and have talked with me before know that I always refer to a kaleidoscope. So here's my kaleidoscope. I should have brought it over. But when you have a kaleidoscope and you're looking through it and you make one small turn, just one little turn, it shifts the whole picture. The whole dimension changes, the colors change, the design changes. And that's what I hope today for you. You can each take away your own kaleidoscope moment that you really can say, never thought about that before, but I want to be able to, use that information. And use the information and make it your own. I'm giving you ideas, and know that you have the capacity to do whatever that part is for you. So it's not heavy content, it's going to be bits and pieces. But first of all, I really want you to know that we're not superhumans. We may look in our work groups and say, what's your superpower? And we know we have these different abilities. In times of stressful situations, we need to be able to kind of breathe into it and relax our priorities a little bit at times to be able to say, you know what, it's okay. I'm doing the best I can in this moment with what I have. I can't be going at 100% all the time over here because I have so many other things on my plate. So that's a really big, important part to me, is to be able to say that you need to respect your humanness and the humanness of those around you. So we're the human beings out here. It's not just of what we're doing, as in the human, the human doings. Our values really come to play in a lot of this. And a lot of times in different team activities I do, being perfectionist comes up, or being driven, being productive, results oriented. They are all great values that we, I lost my train, but they all inhabit us in some way. And it's time to really figure out what we can let go of in this time and what we really want to hold on to. So what are the values of integrity? What are the values of love, of caring, of hopefulness, all of that we can be imparting? And one of the biggest questions that I believe is important is, who do you want to be when you're looking back on this, when we're all on the other side of COVID-19? What's your memory that you want to know you held yourself to? What standard do you want to be able to give for yourself to others that you're on your team, on your work teams, in your homes, in your family? Who do you want others to have seen you be while you're going through this? And shine the light there. We all only have a certain amount of capacity to be able to keep being and going into our best selves. So I want you to really think about that. We only have so much energy, and where our energy goes, that's where attention can really flow. And you can also be the catalyst for others in being able to riff off of your energy in that way by your, being the model. But first you have to do it for yourself. So raise your attention on your intuition, on your intentions, from coming from that place of empathy, self-compassion. It's time to really turn all those great words towards yourself for emotional intelligence, and it needs to begin with you, so then you're able to pass it along. Charlie, I think you have one slide there on emotions that we can quickly just look at and know that you can, we can send this out, or you can Google it. You can just take a picture of it, but actually you can Google it with the name that'll be at the bottom of that. And if it doesn't come up, it's not a big deal at all. If you Google later, it's just an emotional wheel or a flower emotion wheel. And what that is, it's just is, some basic, it's kind of like the color wheel. If you start off with just yellow, blue, and red, and then if you mix the colors together, you'll get green or you'll get purple. What the emotion wheel is, and it's great to use with your team and with your children, as well as for you, if you're looking at the word sad, it will also take you into a deeper level. Are you devastated? Are you frustrated? What are the other adjectives that also are the same as that emotion? Because the clearer we can get on what emotion we're feeling, it doesn't just come under that umbrella. It's what's on each of the panels for that one word, if that makes, no, not that one, the one with the the one with the words, but thank you. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. And again, I'll say that at the end. Okay, so a lot of today, we're going to also be looking at, through positive psychology and the growth mindset, as we're looking at the different areas of our lives, but we're looking at a model from University of Pennsylvania by Martin Seligman called PERMA, and it's PERMA, and someone in Australia has added an H to it, and I love the people in positive psychology. They're very open and willing to share, and he totally gave Michelle McQuaid the opportunity and the agreement that she could add to it, so I'm going to go through it. P in the PERMA model is for positive emotion. E is for engagement. R is for relationships, positive relationships. M for meaning. A for achievement. And H for health. So she felt that really needed to be in, and I agree very much. We're really going to be covering the areas today on positive emotions, relationships, and meaning. Not to say the other three are not equally as important, they are, but in this time frame and right now, those other ones are the ones we really need to bring forward. So if we're leaning into that, we're going to be going through those, but in the first I want to be able to introduce a concept of a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset. The growth mindset, and this work is done by research, especially on students. For those of you with kids, it's a great book to be reading, by Carol Dweck, D-W-E-C-K. And the growth mindset believes that abilities, that talent, that intelligence, different aspects of our being can be learned and developed through dedication and through consistency of learning. So a growth mindset, as opposed to the fixed mindset where, it's just the opposite. This is how it is for me. It's always going to be this way. I was born with this talent. I was born without the talent. And no matter what, even my interest, it's not going to go in any direction. So it doesn't help us if we don't have a growth mindset to be able to shift ourselves a little bit and focus on what we do have and the abilities we have, those inner strengths to be able to pull themselves out, because that's where our resilience lives and our grit, our ability to really have the ability to bounce forward. So it's not just bouncing up and down, which a lot of us have been doing as though we're on a trampoline going this way and that way, but it's really, what do I need right now to move myself forward and to be really strong with my team, with my family, and those around me? Okay, so there's different challenges in working remotely, and I really want you to be very aware. This is not the norm for working remotely. You guys are getting set up, and this is not as though, okay, well, now I get to work remotely 1 day a week. This was all done in a hurry. You kind of grab things from your office, can't go back there right now to get things that I wish I had this. So it really is, how are you formulating what you can be able to do with what you have? For those of you who are living alone, it's a really important, and for those of you who know people who are living alone. It means they're living alone, they're sleeping alone, they're working alone, and that really can have all the walls cave in. If they're living in a one-bedroom place or a studio apartment or something, it's really, how do I navigate that space to be able to make, okay, this is work area over here, and this is where I can relax. This is how I can be able to be set up, but I have a separate private space to be able to go to and turn my workload off. It's looking out for those who are alone right now. And your coworkers, this is a wonderful opportunity to really be able to bridge the gaps and be able, there's a lot of reports of people feeling closer to each other through this vulnerable time. And that becomes when you start to being able to share. And when you're sharing of yourself and you're hearing and you're talking on a different level than you were before when you were in the office and you saw each other, it is a really nice aspect to just make that, send out a text or an email, better yet, pick up the phone. If you are texting, hey, I'd love to connect with you. Do you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes later? Kind of bridge that gap a little bit. I know it's really difficult if you have children at home and all of that to say, you know, hey, call me at 7:30, you know, after the workday or whatever. And people are exhausted. I will tell you this. I'm sure each one of you, it's a mental exhaustion as well as a physical exhaustion. You need to be really aware of that and be able to give yourself permission to step back. And if you can write yourself a little note of who do I know that's living alone, working alone, that you can just kind of be able to, even if it's one person a day on a rotating basis, it can be family, it can be friends as well, but that's a really important part. For those sharing space with others, realize it's normal to get on each other's nerves, first and foremost, that it's really, it's okay. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry, I did my cell phone. I forgot my other phone. Where am I? Okay. Oh, something that normally wouldn't irritate you, it could really drive you up the wall. You are not used to being with someone 24/7. Gives yourselves permission to be able to have some separate time. Maybe one of you goes for a walk while the other one stays home for an hour and takes a conference call, or just has some quiet time. Imagine just reading a book for 30 minutes and just having an escape. But you need to be able to have that time away. You know, it's all normalizing everything. You fall over something that someone left in the middle of the room that you weren't expecting to be there. You're human. You're going to, you know, have a little bit, screaming part. It's find the humor in the situations. Realize that everyone is dealing with it, the whole COVID-19 part, in their own way. It's different from yours. It doesn't mean your way is better than theirs or theirs is better. It's how do you come together and communicate to figure out the differences, to make it as easy as possible during this time. A nice thing to do with couples, even if you're separated for whatever reason, or you have a really good friend or a family member, is before you're going to bed each night, just have that 1 minute check-in and just say, you know, I really appreciated you doing this today. You know, reaching out and calling someone or your significant other, you know, when you did this today, it really made me feel, whatever that is. But that's a nice thing, whether it's this time and continues on forever. It's a really nice thing to acknowledge that. What a beautiful way to send your kids to sleep with too, telling them and getting them in the habit as well. And stop comparing yourselves with everyone on your team, on social media, on anywhere. People are posting a lot and it may seem like somebody has it really all together. Forget about it. Just concentrate on yourself, do the best you can, and pat yourself on the back, knowing that you are doing exactly the best that you can be doing. Respect personal space. So if you are set up, there was an article that I wrote for the Nonprofit Leadership Center. So if you go to their website at the end of the call or whenever, so I don't want to, you can read that with, it's 10 different ideas for working at home. I don't want to repeat all of those. I'll go over a couple, but just know that that's also another place. to go. I really wanted to talk to how we're dealing with all of this as well. One of the things I have in my notes is, especially going into retirement, which my husband just retired, it's that old saying of, I married you for love. I didn't marry you for lunch. So, God, this is so hard when you can't hear laughter. So I'm hoping that you thought that was funny. Anyway, it's hard. Sometimes you want to take a break from that other person, or, you go with the kids. I'm going over here. I'm taking a sandwich and I'm going to go sit across the street. I need quiet for right now. It's also recognizing the differences. Does someone want, noise around? Does someone else want total quiet? Sometimes you can put on the TV on the History Channel or something that you're not really interested in, just so that you hear that it kind of resembles the Office, maybe, if you're used to that type of like white noise, or you could even use white noise machine if you have. One of the things that I want to also show is you can have, this is my Girl Scout scarf because I love it. I love the Girl Scouts, but you can put on a scarf and be able to wear that, or you can wear a hat, or you can wear a funky necklace. But this is my working item. So when I walk out to reheat coffee, or if I'm going out to just get up and walk, if I have this on, people in my house know, don't talk to me. If they talk to me, they're going to get a look. But no, seriously, it's really, I could be walking out, and without it, my husband would just start having a conversation and telling me everything of what was going on. I'm thinking in my head, 3 emails I want to write, who I need to call back with, and it just totally takes me out. So that's a really cool thing to do, I think. Let me see. Okay. I'm kind of looking down sometimes because I have a lot of notes. And Oh, okay. So working from home, let's jump in with make breakfast and make it once. Only make one breakfast. If you have, multiple people in your household, you can do something. You can, switch off breakfast making or whatever, but you only want to be responsible for either breakfast or say lunch, but you don't want to be doing breakfast at 6:30 for you. And then again at 8:30, taking a break when the kids are getting up or whatever. That said, do whatever you can do ahead of time. And if your kids are old enough, let it be that they help the day before, night before. It can be a family activity. I used to teach school, so you can bring in math, you can bring in a whole bunch of different subjects into that part, get them involved, and have them get their own breakfast at that point. Use a phone timer to batch your work in productive ways. So again, it's different for everybody. I'm the type of person, I want to roll out of bed. If I'm going to be here, I'm rolling out of bed as I did this morning at 6 o'clock. And I know it's not what the experts say, but it's what works for me. And that's what I'm telling you. Do what works for you. I just head right into the office and I got a good 2 hours of work done before anything else. And then I had a team call at 8:30. So I was good to go. And, it was my productive time. Then as the day goes on, know where your strengths are, where your times are. You may find that it's really tough for you, those bewitching hours sometimes with kids at 3 to 5. And I get it that you have to be on team calls or whatever. But in this time of flexibility, what I'm hearing from my clients is managers, leaders are flexing, and everybody is working together for what could be the good of the whole entire team. You're going to have to flex as well, of course, but I will tell you that people who work from home tend to work even longer hours, because nobody's telling you that at 9 o'clock at night, you don't just go in and get some of your work done yourself. Some of you I can see on the line have headsets on. You can use headsets or headsets. Do a walking call whenever you're available to. So you have a call with a client or a colleague or some type of a call that you don't necessarily need to be taking notes at, chained to your desk. Go outside and just walk up and down for a little bit. Gets you out into the fresh air. It's a change of scenery. It's moving. You have to get up and move. So I've been telling my clients all the time for years, set your alarm on your phone or whatever, so you get up and you actually move and get some exercise in, stretching in. for even 3 or 4 minutes at a time. Music choice, that depends on you and who you're living with, if you're going to have that or having headphones on. Some people like really upbeat music. Other people like, really slow melodic music. Have the white noise, I said. If you have availability at home of a whiteboard, or if you even take like computer paper and scotch tape it together to make something really big, then you can be able to have your schedule, your spouse's schedule or your team's schedule, your kids' schedule, but everybody be responsible to make your own schedule. I said in the beginning, these things can overlap, and that's what I'm hoping, that you're going to find some different ideas and you can tweak to make them your own. Take the news and media, social media, little icons at the bottom of your screen, take them off for right now, because they can be really good time sucks. And if you don't see them, I had a client who always, whenever his email dinged, you have that little ding or whatever, even at night when he was home, if he got an email, he was constantly looking at it. And I suggested, and he liked it and he did it. He moved the email icon off of his front screen on his phone onto the second or third screen. So he had to go to it rather than seeing it say 1, 2, 3, until it gets up to however many emails. So that's an idea as well. I said incorporate breaks with your movement. Sometimes, okay, so I go against what the experts say. So I'm throwing that out there, that you need to do what works for you. The other thing that you can play around with is have a 3-song break limit. If you have music on, just say, okay, don't choose 10-minute songs. I'm not talking about that, but the average song of 2 minutes or 2 minutes and 10 seconds, listen to 3 of them, or get up and move to 3 of them, dance to 3 of them, and then move on. But it gives you a break. It's something fun. So, this is kind of funny, but those of you who have kids and those who don't, but I have this around anyway, because I work with teams all the time. So I have Play-Doh. I know this is really weird, right? I have jacks. I have different things that took me back to my childhood. So you can do coloring pages. You can do doodles and then color them in with, markers if you have Sharpies. Anything to take your mind away. Before the call, I sat and did Sudoku for about 5 minutes just to get my brain off of the call and all the information overload I was having and what I wanted to share. Do something, play tic-tac-toe, and you can also do some of these games online, and there's things coming up now all the time where you can do it with a friend. So I'm going to leave that up to you to figure that out and find it, but just know that part. I'm going to go to your teams and leave my kid part out for right now. Teams. Human connection first and foremost. Talk with your teams. See where you're at each morning before you just get into the work. I totally understand the need to revamp how you're working together and to figure that all out. Working remotely when you were not expecting it and it's unplanned is a whole different game, and it's different for everyone. So go back to not comparing with, well, my friend in her company is doing this. It's not, you can listen to ideas and see how it may impact, maybe a good thing to incorporate, and maybe perhaps bring that up to your team leader, your supervisor, to one of your trusted teammates first before you start to say it in front of the whole team. Have that little private part. But this is something I'm thinking about. Don't get attached to it. If you can be able to just present it as, this is something interesting I was thinking about that I heard. What do you think we could do? Do you think it's possible to tweak that? Maybe it's something that we could do. I know teams who are starting out their team meetings with showing a picture, bringing a picture of a significant person in their life, or a family picture of their pets. I know teams who are bringing their pets to their first phone call of the day on a Monday or something. It gives you a little slice into your teammates' life. And that's a nice thing to have to bring us closer as this is all transpiring. If there's something in your home that you're really proud of and you want to share, say, you know what, today I'm not showing a picture, I'm walking you over, or I'm standing here with this picture that I really love, and, you know, tell a 30-second little tidbit. But when everybody is sharing in that way, it's a really warm and inviting, it's showing a little bit of your self and your vulnerability, your ability and willingness to be able to be vulnerable in the open sense, as opposed to in that, you know, oh, this is really something that I've never shared with anyone. So we're not going really deep here. We're just showing and peeking into what, this is my favorite book, this is my favorite movie, whatever that is. And you'll also find that as you do share different parts about what's on your mind, it's also normalizing the feeling with others on your team that are not feeling open enough to really verbalize it, but you help normalize it for them. Those living and working at home alone too, by your being able to share your feelings where you're comfortable, it really opens up a doorway back and forth for that. Questions your team can ask each day and look at is, well, number one, I love the idea of, and I do it with teams all the time, and I think it's something that you can do together. Ooh, I'm running out of time. You can design your alliance together. So designing your alliance is being able to say what the needs are of each individual to be able to do their best work, be their most productive, bring their full self to the work that needs to be done. So in designing the alliance, how are you going to show up each day for your teammates? What are you going to commit to doing? What do you need from your teammates to be able to have the most success you can have, both individually and as your team? So how are you also willing to show up when things get tough? Things are tough right now out there and inside your teams as you're navigating all this. And what happens when another road bump comes up? I'm not talking about the virus. I'm talking about just within the team. Who are you going to be in that moment? Are you looking at, we need to have respect for each other. We need to have the safety to be able to talk to each other. And I think that we need to make, I'm just off the top of my head, is there are no assumptions. And if we're going to make an assumption, have it be that we believe that everyone is doing the best they can do, the best they can do. And I think that comes directly from Brene Brown, but I'm kind of messing up her words maybe a little bit. But it really is that part of being vulnerable to show up and bring your best self, but also teaching each other who you are, how you are when times are difficult for you. It's the time to really be able to take off that mask and be able to say, okay, guys, you're my team, you're my work family, and I'm really at my wit's end. My kids were up all last night, or I was up all last night. I only got a half-hour sleep. I was up every hour and I was tossing and turning. Is it a safe environment for you to be able to acknowledge that and say, I just really may need to step out, and I think I need 2 hours. I'll make up my 2 hours at 8 or 9 tonight, but right now I can't function anymore. Where is that humanness that we're able to show? Even in the team meetings in the very beginning of the day, you can also share having some good exercise. So not appointing one person to do it, only from anyone who volunteers, who's comfortable with it. But you can have somebody designing a dance and you can have them full screen on the computer, and, you know, somebody can be moving their arms and you can be doing whatever it is. Get funky, get fun, but you want to bring some lightness in. There's a lot of serious work that you guys are doing. You're all coming from the heart, and you need to be able to mix it up so you have a little bit of time too. I also want to show you one thing, and this can be done with kids too. So Charlie, now the circle can come up. There's a large circle that you'll see with a small inner circle, and I call it a perspective wheel. So if you see this round circle, and then, so in the middle, and you can use this for everything. I love this tool. So in the middle circle, you put your topic. So for today, it could be, you know, COVID-19, and it's, let's just say it's work. Okay. It could be COVID-19, and it doesn't have to be COVID-19. I'm just using that now, but it could be COVID-19 and your parents. It could be COVID-19 working at home, whatever that is. But when you have it here, then look at one piece of that pie, and that perspective, give it a color. And for those of you who can be really creative, you can color it in yellow if that's your yellow area. But where you're looking at, the first area is, and you can print this out, but you can look at it and say, okay, I said this one was about work, I think. So it's, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get this work done. It's way too much work for me to do. How am I going to get this all? The kids are talking while I'm trying to work. They're expecting me to get this done within 2 hours. Normally I could get it done in an hour. It's taking me 3 hours, and it's going and it's going. And this is all that worry about work. So that might be the yellow perspective as you're looking at your computer. Then I would tell you, change your direction. So I don't know if you're still seeing me or not, but change your direction. And now I'm turned to my right and looking at my lamp. So now I'm looking over here, and this perspective might be my blue perspective. And over here see, there is a lamp here. I'm not crazy. It just didn't show. Over here in this perspective, it may be, you know, it'll get done. I'm very fortunate that I can lean on my team members when I can be able to do this, and all those different parts of that perspective. And that can be one. And the other perspective, looking at your computer screen, really can be very anxiety ridden. And the one over here is like, okay, well, that's a little bit easier. And then over here, you can be looking out the other way and really physically change. I can't move right now, but physically get up and move, or at least your gaze, to a different area. And then the green perspective might be, you know, this is really working well. I'm noticing that when I do this, I can really knock out 3 hours worth of good content work. And then I'm able to be with my kids for 2 hours, and then I can hop back on, because when they're over here doing this with my husband, or they're over here, you know, on the other computer with my mother, you know, who's reading stories to her, it's all different parts. But it's choosing. You are at choice then. You're at choice to choose the perspective. Tell him I said hi, Ron. You're at choice to choose the perspective that makes you feel the calmest and most in control for that time. But the perspective wheel is a really great tool. And, you know, it's very simple. It's just a circle within a circle, and then cut it out into 6 different pieces. You may have 2 or 3 different perspectives. Sometimes on a topic, you might have 6. So that's one. And I know we're coming to a close. Let me just see. One other thing is in the questions. It's a nice thing at the end of the day, for those of you who are also having team meetings at the end of the day, maybe but just asking yourself as a close, what's the funniest thing that happened today? What is the strangest thing that happened today? What's the best thing that happened today? Because some of us are really finding that there are really good things when we look for it. The professor I studied with for positive psychology, Tal Ben-Shahar, says when you look for the good appreciates. And it's really having that, that in your mind, because when you look for what's good, you start to find more good. When you start to go down that rabbit hole of everything being overwhelming and looking for the negative, it just seems like those really multiply, right? So I'll open it to you. I have one other thing to share before we close. So Karina.
Thank you so much, Ellen. We're still waiting for some questions to come in. So if you have something more to share, you can share that. I noticed a lot of nuggets of wisdom and gems that I really loved. So if we're going to still be waiting for questions, something that I would want to hear more about is if you have any tips on how to cultivate a growth mindset, because that seems to be a pretty fundamental issue and something that lies at the root of a lot of issues, and how to solve for a lot of this stuff.
For the growth mindset on here, I would take it back to the very beginning of looking at where do you want to be and how do you start to be able to get there? What are the abilities? What are the tools? Right now, I don't think it's as much. I guess I want to dial it back into what I call that saboteur mind or the gremlin mind of understanding that negative self-talk that's telling you what you can't do, what you're not good at, and being able to reframe it in a way so that it's not going to run through you. So this is a little bit different than Carol's part, but I think it's the most important for right now, because from what I've heard on all the calls that I've been on with people is that negative voice that's really telling them how awful this is and how terrible it is, and the money worries and all of that piece, and they're starting to fill in their own answers where they really don't even have the questions yet of knowing where we're going. It's a lot of conjecture, and it all is coming from fear, which everybody has to one extent or the other. Some of us have fear in 8 different categories. Some of us have it in 3, but it's really along the boards of health. It's along job security, financial security. It's in all different areas. So oh great, I threw my phone. I'll learn this from now on. See, I told you guys it was my first time. So we're just going to have music playing in the background. Anyway, it's acknowledging your feelings and understanding that it's where you are in the present moment of how you're really feeling, and it's okay. So not to beat yourself up over it. And don't you love that? But it really is being able to step back from it and take the negative comment that you may be thinking and reframing it into a positive, because what you're supposing, or the rabbit hole you're going into, that you think it's always like this or it's never going to be like that, it's not a truth. So how do you know if it's true or not true? And we don't, and we have to be able to gauge for ourselves if we want to be able to move forward in our best self that we can. So thanks, Karina.
We have a question from, and I apologize in advance for mispronouncing this name, Shamara Bridges Mata asks, for the perspective wheel, do you recommend we complete it alone or as a group?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think you could do it absolutely as a team. I think you want to do it first by yourself, so you kind of get a feel for it, and you want to be able, the reason I gave it colors is so that you have some imagery for it. If you're able to color that in, or you can hold up, if everybody in your team draws that circle. Charlie, I don't know if there's a way, maybe you could put the circle on I don't know. Oh, I see it right down there that you guys can download it. It's on the right-hand side. Isn't technology cool? But you can download that, you can send it to everyone, and then each person can be able to, as you're talking it through, being able to write what everybody is saying into the group perspective. So it doesn't matter, I said, you're in one part, one section, Ellen said this, person A said this, person B, doesn't matter who said it, you're all part of the system, that system of the team. So it's the team perspective that's holding the container of all of that concern. But it's only one topic, but it's a great way to be able to really have the team ventilate what's going on. So if they're able to vent and be able to get out what's on their mind on that particular subject, you can also use it as a way to be able to brainstorm an idea where there's no wrong ideas. It's just, you know, you can be creative, do it however, but absolutely use it with a team. Yeah.
Ellen, do you have any instructions for completing the perspective wheel, or a website that we could share that has those instructions sort of outlined for people?
I would have to make that up. So
Okay.
I can do that.
Okay, we can add that to the page where we will post the recording of this video so that you
Okay.
can pair it up with the recording.
Is that okay if
Does
we
that sound
do
okay?
that late tomorrow?
Yeah, I think that sounds good to me.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I need a little time, but yeah, I can do that. Yeah. Happy to.
Perfect.
So let me go, if there's no other questions right now, I will go into some of the other ideas. Something that, and I don't know if you can raise your hands or something. Have any of you ever heard of mind mapping? Because I bring this up a lot with my clients and a lot of people haven't heard of that. So I'm just curious. Is there a way to judge that? For a mind map? Or I can just tell you what that is. Okay, I'm going to just tell you. A mind map is, if you imagine, I like circles, I guess, right? So a circle, if you go back to kindergarten and make a sun, which is the circle with just the rays coming out. So one of the rays right now may be a work assignment that you have. Another ray of the sun could be, wait, I'm going to draw this out. Just. Okay, so you have, can you see that? No. It's just the sun. It's like back in kindergarten. So on one of the rays, if you have work or a project, whatever it is, you have one thing on one ray of the sun. Then you can have family or each individual member of the family on another ray. On another ray, you have a call, a conference call that you're going to be leading. Each ray represents something that you have going on. If you have a lot of different projects going on, you can have a home mind map, you can have a personal mind map, and you can have a work one. But from each ray, so if we're looking at your program ray, ray that you're developing this program, outside of that, then each line comes down off of that main line and talks about who do you need to be talking to? What do you need to have done? Who is responsible for what? What are all the different action steps that need to be done? And all of a sudden, you have a whole picture within a picture that's, instead of a large to-do list, it really is a list of everything of what you have, and you're able to be able to sort out by seeing it which ones take priority. And then you can take a yellow highlighter or whatever and say, okay, well, on this project over here, on this ray, these two get highlighted in yellow because I need to do those first. Down here on this ray, okay, this one's yellow, this one's yellow. Come back to it 1 or 2 days later, when you've accomplished a few more, highlight them, you know they're done, use a different color highlighter from which ones you're going to go to next. The other part is understanding that you're really giving yourself permission to be human. You're doing absolutely the best of what you can be doing right now, and being able to give permission to everyone else in your life that may be triggering you, that, when the news is triggering you, when you feel that stress coming on, go back into your breath and really be able to try to calm yourself down with, just a short little breathing exercise. People, when I say meditation, they go, oh my God, I don't want to meditate. But really, it's just closing your eyes, taking in a few long, deep breaths. The deep breaths come in through your nose. Try to hold it for a count of 4, and then slowly release it through pursed lips. longer count than what the inhale was. So you want your exhale to be longer than the inhale. That's a really important part. But you will start to feel in your body where you can really start to relax. Getting out into nature, whatever it is, wherever it is, if you can get outside for a little bit, keep your 6 foot distance, but really being able to get outside, move your body, stretch, and be able to look at all those different aspects. But your mindset, the meaning part in PERMA comes, you guys are all, working really hard. I think most of you, from what I saw, you're all with nonprofits, and the meaning that you have that brought you to where you're working, the deep sense of level of caring for other people is tremendous. So I just ask of you to really take part of that and care for yourselves too, because the whole community at large, wherever you are and whoever you're serving, thank you immensely, along with our first responders and health care people, the grocery store workers, everyone who's outside working. I have one last piece I want to be able to share. I love this quote by Laura Kelly Fanucci. So just to be able to read this to you. When this is over, may we never again take for granted a handshake with a stranger, full shelves at the store, conversations with neighbors, a crowded theater, Friday night out, a routine checkup, the school rush each morning, coffee with a friend, the stadium roaring, each deep breath, a boring Tuesday, life itself. When this ends, may we find that we have become more like the people we wanted to be, we were called to be, we hope to be, and may we stay that way, better for each other because of the worst. So it goes back to that same question I started in the beginning. Who do you want to be? And who do you want to be remembered by for yourself and for all of those around you, how you showed up during this time? So I think we're out of time, but I really want to thank you. I appreciate your time and sharing it with me so very much. And if all of you take away one thing, I really will appreciate that. That brings meaning to me. So thank you.
Ellen, thank you on behalf of all of us on this call and a whole host of people who hope to be on the call for our first effort at this. We really applaud you, and if everyone can join in doing that and participation, we applaud you and we love you and we thank you so much for making this possible for us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Goodbye, everybody, and stay healthy. Stay in.
Thank you,
To all of you, thank you so much, and we'll see you again as we plan other webinars like this one.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.